Hey guys, Caitlin here. Today we are doing our annual Classical Conversations prep. This year we are prepping for cycle 1. This is 2024-2025, and I am excited to share with you all the things. So if you're new here, welcome. My name is Caitlin. I am a mom of 4. I've been homeschooling with Classical Conversations. This will be our 6th year. And my first year, right before the school year, I just made a video showing like how I was preparing for my first year, and it was very popular. Lots of people really liked it, and so I've continued doing that every single year. At the beginning of the year, during the summer before the school year starts, I sit down and I gather up all the things and I make a video sharing everything that I'm doing, everything that I think you need, everything you might want to check out, all that kind of stuff. Now, if you've watched my videos before, the first chunk of the video is going to be basically the same. It's going to be for our new people who have not watched the videos before. So if you've watched them before, you can probably skip ahead partially through, and I'll leave a timestamp in the description box so that you don't have to watch the whole thing if you don't want to. But if you're new, definitely watch from the beginning because I'm going to cover everything that you need to get started from ground zero. Now, if you're super new and you haven't even maybe visited a campus yet or anything, you've just decided last minute to join, you might want to pause this video and go watch a different video that I have that is all about what is Classical Conversations, how does it work, what does the curriculum look like, that kind of thing, and then come back to here before you start prepping, because if you don't really know how it works, you may be like, why is she telling me all this stuff? So anyway, but assuming that you know what you're doing, a little bit at least, it's okay if you don't, but assuming that you kind of have the background knowledge, let's dive in. All right, so we're going to start with, like I said, this first part is stuff that I share every single year because I have so many new people, like new to CC people who watch this video every year. So I want them to get all the information. But then in the second half of the video, I'll share kind of like cycle specific things and stuff that may be newer. So even if you've watched my videos in the past or you've even watched my cycle 1 video from the past, this will be new stuff. So, okay, here we go. All right, if you are brand new to Classical Conversations, welcome. You're going to love it. It's awesome. But there's really only 2 things you actually have to have, okay? And that is your foundations guide and a tin whistle, okay? You can do CC with only these 2 things and nothing else. Now, I'm going to share a lot of other things that you may or may not want to use just for ease of use. But as long as you have those 2 things, that's it. That's the guts of it. That's the bones of it. So those are some things that you have to have. Now, this is found on CC's website, and it has the curriculum for all 3 cycles. So once you've bought it once, you're done. You don't have to buy it again unless they, make a new version of it or whatever. So make sure you have that. Tin whistle, you can get one on CC's website. Mine comes from Amazon, and I'll link it. So if you want this specific one, but you just need a tin whistle in D, and you're good to go. You'll need one of those for each of your kids that's in CC, as well as for yourself if you are tutoring. Now, you might want to have a case for your tin whistle. Now, the first 4 years that we were in CC, we did not have cases for our tin whistles. My kids tossed them in their backpacks. Sometimes they were in a Ziploc bag. Sometimes they were just totally tossed in a backpack. They have held up fine. It's not been a big deal. But last year I finally was like, I'm going to make us tin whistle cases. I sew, and so I made them using a pattern that I found online that someone else had shared, which I will link. Oh, by the way, I'm going to pause here and say everything that I tell you about, I'm going to have linked in a very thorough blog post. It's in the it's in the description of this video. It'll take you to that blog post and you'll be able to find everything that I mentioned. Okay, so everything will be there. Okay, so I used a pattern that another CC mom had shared online, or a tutorial. If you don't sew, there is a CC mom on Etsy who makes them and sells them, and you can purchase from her. So I'll have that linked for you. Again, you don't have to have one of these. It's not a big deal if you don't, but it is nice to have. Some other things from the CC website that you might want to have. One are the timeline cards. Okay, so these are these nice cards here that have each piece of the timeline on them. There's a picture on the front with the label and then information on the back. There are 4 sets of timeline cards, and you need all 4 of those sets to span the entire timeline. So it's not just because this is cycle 1 and we're doing ancient that you only get the first set that is called the ancient world. You're going to need all 4 sets. However, the timeline is the same every single year. So no matter what cycle you're in, you will always use the same timeline, the 14-minute timeline song, and the same timeline cards. But it is confusing. People will look at them and think, okay, for this cycle, I only need to get this pack. No, you need all 4 of them. Then that's for all the cycles. I don't know why they sell them in separate packs. I wish they'd just sell them as a big bundle. But anyway, you might want to get the timeline cards. They are beautiful. They are a lovely addition to your school area. They have extra information, so they're great. But a lot of people don't have them, and that is okay too. So it's really up to you. If money is an issue, you don't have to get them. You'll be fine. And unless you're tutoring, you are supposed to have them if you're a tutor. But if you're not tutoring, then, and you're just doing this at home, you don't necessarily have to get them, but they are nice. This is how I store mine. I got these little dividers on Amazon, and I keep each week's timeline behind the divider. So week 1 has the 7 cards for week 1, and week 2 has the 7 cards for week 2. And then I store it in this box. This particular box is no longer sold that I can find, but any box that will hold 5x7 cards, because that's what these are, 5x7, will hold your timeline card. So I've linked maybe 1 or 2 in my blog post, I can't remember, but there's lots of other options as well. So timeline cards are nice to have, and then that's how I store mine. Other people do different things. Some people store them in little binders, in little page protectors. Some people hole punch them and put them on a ring. It's up to you how you want to do that, but that is what has worked for me. And then I hang those up in my schoolroom, and I'll show a picture of that, but I have this thing over my whiteboard that has little clips, and the timeline cards hang up on that. I got mine at Hobby Lobby. If you don't have a Hobby Lobby near you, I found one on Etsy that has exactly the right amount of clips. So you can do that if you want to display them. There's different ways that you can do that. Okay, so something else from the website, let me get back to the CC website that you might want, are the maps. These are called Trivium tables. These are the maps. Your kiddo will use these in community, probably. I guess I shouldn't say probably. I don't know what every community does. Our community has a set of these for the kids to use at community day. But if you want to also do maps at home, you'll want to get one of these. They're dry erase. They don't erase very well. Use some rubbing alcohol to clean them because they get really stained, but otherwise they're good and sturdy and they've held up well. So I like to have my kids trace maps at home. So I do have one of these for each of my kids. But that's optional. You do not have to have that. You can make a copy of the map that's in your guide and laminate it and have your kids trace them. It doesn't have to be this particular thing, but I do like it. One other thing from the website, no, 2 other things. One is the CDs. There are MemoryWorks CDs on the website at the time I'm filming this. However, I have heard that they are phasing out the CDs, and they are very discounted right now. So I don't know if that's because they're phasing it out or they're just doing a sale. But if you want the MemoryWorks CDs right now, they still exist. If you watch this video in 6 months or next time around 3 years later, I don't know if they will still exist, but there are CDs that have the memory work on them if you want to purchase those. Something else that I have never used these before, and I only bought them this year because I'm tutoring for the first time. So this is not something that you need to feel like you have to have, but I just thought I'd show them, are these memory work flashcards. So this is the whole entire cycle. I have it on this ring that's not quite big enough. I need to split it, but they're about business card sized little laminated cards, and they have all the memory work on them. So like here's week 1's math 1s and 2s. There it is on the back. And the yellow ones are, you know, what are 4 kinds of volcanoes? And then it has the answer on the back. So I got these to use in my classroom when I'm tutoring, to use for like games and things like that. I've never used them at home. I've never felt like I needed them at home. Now that I own them, I might use them at home. But I just wanted to show them. If you think you'll do lots of games with your kids, or you know, flashcards are your jam, these are really nice quality, nice to have. But like I said, this is year 6 and I only got them because I'm tutoring, so don't feel like you have to get that. Okay, a couple other organizational things. I mentioned the box that I keep my, mentioned that. Okay, the other thing is, you might have seen on my foundation guide that I have tabs. So my very first year I tabbed them, and I did each cycle a different color. So cycle 1's pink, cycle 2 is purple, and then cycle 3 blue. I'm gonna link to a video that shows how and why I tabbed. I show like which tab goes where and why and all that stuff if you're interested. However, going back and doing it again, I would have not have tabbed this. I did it at the beginning because I was like, oh, I don't know where anything is in this guide. I'm gonna need these tabs. I end up like rarely actually using the physical guide because I have so many other extra things that have the same information in different formats that I've not needed to have it tabbed. It's not that big of a deal to find what I'm looking for. But if you are like me and you just really love to organize things, I do have a video showing how I do it, and I have links to the tabs and all that kind of stuff. Okay, now let's talk about some digital resources. So those were physical resources that CC sells. Now let's talk about some digital ones. First of all, they have an app. The app has the memory work on it. Now, the day I'm filming this, I just saw this morning in one of the CC Facebook groups that they are apparently rolling out a new app that will be free if you are enrolled. The current app is, I want to say $10 to get, and you have to buy it for each cycle. So when I post this in a few days from now, I don't know what the app situation is going to be. So if you watch this the day I post it, I don't know that I would necessarily run out to the app store and buy the app right away. I might give it a couple of weeks and see what the situation is. And I'll update my blog post, because I can't change a video once it's posted, but I can change a blog post and update it with the most current information once I know what that is. But there is an app either way. Either there's the one that you have to purchase right now, or there's this new, maybe free one that's coming out. The current app that you have to purchase is clunky and I don't love it. I mean, we use it, I own it, and we use it because it's handy to have there to use, but there's features about it I don't like. It doesn't have the timeline song, so I have had to get that separate. So that's annoying that it's not on there. So I'm hoping if they're coming out with this new app that maybe it will be a little more user-friendly. It will have everything, including the timeline song. I don't know. So we're going to learn this part together. But it is nice to have an app, and especially if the app is going to be free, that's like a no-brainer. It's nice to have that on your phone so that you can listen to the memory work. But also the songs, the same songs that are on the physical CD sets that I mentioned, can also be purchased on iTunes. So if you want to have them in that format, you can purchase them on iTunes. My first year, I purchased some of the songs on iTunes because I wanted the timeline song. In order to get the timeline song, I had to purchase, there's like 3 discs per cycle. And so I had to purchase the 3rd disc that had the timeline song on it to get it. So I own some of them, but I really only ever use it for the timeline song. I have always used the app for my songs, and then most recently, our Yoto player, which I'll talk about in a second. But so you can get the songs on a CD. You can get the songs through iTunes or whatever other digital, I don't know, I've linked to it so you can check it out, but I think it's all through iTunes. Or you can have the songs on the app, most of them, because as of right now, not the timeline song, but maybe in a few days it will be. Okay, last year we got my 5-year-old a Yoto player for her birthday, and I have now switched, I won't say switched, I've put all of our memory work on make your own cards for the Yoto player. And so we listen to the memory work through that more than we use the app now. And I'll talk about it a little bit more in a little bit, but I have a whole entire tutorial on how to do that. So if you have a Yoto player, you want to do that, you can listen to them that way as well, because the songs are on CC Connected, which CC Connected is a website that if you are an enrolled family in Classical Conversations, you have access to. Now, if you do CC at home on your own without any community, you will not have access to this. But if you are enrolled and you've paid your tuition and you're going to participate in a physical community, you have access to CC Connected, and there's a lot of stuff on there. One of the things on there are the digital songs, like all the songs that you can listen to, just like you can click on it and listen to it on your computer or on your phone, or you can even download them as an MP3 and put them on something like a Yoto player. So I don't even know if that existed. Well, CC Connected has changed a lot since I started. I don't even know if the whole downloading the songs was a thing when I first started. I knew you could play them through CC Connected or whatever it used to be. I guess it was still called that. But that was very clunky for me to have to pull up my computer, log in, find the correct week, click on that to play. I much prefer to pay $10 to have the app so I could easily grab a week's one. But now that I've taken the time, downloaded the MP3s and made all these make your own playlists, now I have them on the Yoto player, and also that has an app on my phone, so I can play them that way. Before we move into all the things on CC Connected and additional things that are on CC Connected, let me just pause here and let you know or remind you, you do not have to do all of these things. This is going to be like drinking from a water hose. I'm going to give you a ton of ideas because over the last 6 years, I have tried all of these, and some of them, I did my first year and then I've added since then, or some of them, you know, as I, like this year, my kids are 10 and 8 and 5, the ones that are in CC. So I have different things for different age groups. Some of these are things that I haven't even used yet, but I've found and I want to share with you. So don't feel like your first year, you have to do all of these things. I have built a little bit every single year as I've made these videos, or as I've done CC, or as my kids have grown. You know, this is our second time through cycle 1. You don't have to do all this stuff, but I try to provide like a buffet of options so you can pick and choose what works for you and your family. But I just want you to not feel overwhelmed. If you literally want to show up to your first community day with your, well, you don't have to bring your tin whistle because that's not even the first 6 weeks, with having a foundations guide, you're gonna be fine. It's gonna be okay. So don't worry about trying to do all these things, but I am gonna give you a lot of options. Okay, the first thing is, like I mentioned, I don't like reference this every single day because I have these other resources that I'm going to share with you. So there's a couple of different ways that people like to display their memory work at home, or reference their memory work at home. And one of those is, and first, before I talk about that, I have tried to provide links to everything that I talk about, or similar things, both on CC Connected and off of CC Connected. Because I know I have a lot of viewers who don't participate in a community, and so sometimes I'll get feedback about like, well, I can't get access to any of that stuff because I don't have CC Connected. So I'm trying to give options for both, but I also know a lot of you guys are in community and you have CC Connected and you love having the links directly to each item that I'm sharing. So I try to do both so you have options. Okay, so the first thing is, these are called flip books. They are like photo album size, and there are a lot of different options of these, and I've linked, I want to say like 5 or 6 versions, both some CC Connected options and some off CC Connected options, some that are free, some that are paid. So you got a lot of choices. But what this is somebody has taken the memory work and they've put all of the week's memory work into like one little rectangle here, and then the maps here. And I use these little photo albums from the Dollar Tree that have exactly the right number of pockets. Most photo albums are going to be too small, like if you just buy them random places like Walmart. So either find the one at the Dollar Tree, or there is a CC mom who sells some on Amazon, I believe, that are the exact right size. So I'll link to those. So if you don't have a Dollar Tree near you, you can purchase them from Amazon. But this is just a really nice on-the-go option. There are some of the versions are a PDF, and so you have to download it and you have to cut it. What I have preferred to do is to use the versions that have a JPEG, because then you can upload it to whatever photo ordering site that you use. So whether you order photos from Snapfish or Amazon Photos or Walmart or CVS or whatever, you can, these are just 4x6 pictures. You can upload them all and have someone else print them and then slide them in like you would a photo album. So it eliminates your cutting. At the time that I did that it cost me maybe like $6 to get them printed. I don't know if the price of pictures has gone up since then, but it's not super expensive. So that's what I prefer to do. But if you want to print at home and cut, there's a lot of options to do that. But anyway, so this is really nice on the go option because it's small. You can toss it in a backpack or a purse. You can leave it in your car so your kids can review on the way. There are some of the files that have it by subject. So this is by week. So this will be week 1. It has all the week 1 information. One person, I think, maybe 2, have done it where you could do it by subject. So you have all of the science together and then all of the history together. So it kind of depends on how you and your family want to review. If you have a child that's going to go for Memory Master, this is great for them to use on the go. Now, if you have a child that's not reading, not really such a good option for you because it's mostly just words. The only picture is the map. It's not full of other pictures and stuff. So our first year, when my oldest was only 5, I did make these for whatever cycle we were in that year, but really didn't use them that much because he couldn't read and I wasn't like drilling him all the time at age 5. I don't drill any of my kids all the time, but he wasn't interested in Memory Master, none of that stuff. So not really my top choice. Unless you have a kid, unless you're schooling on the go a lot and you need to take something with you, or you have a kid that's going for Memory Master. This is really nice then. Now, what I really prefer is what are called fridge, as in refrigerator, fridge facts. So this is a bigger one. It's 8.5 by 11, and it's got a little more colorful. It's got some more pictures. So that's like week 24. Here's week 1, but it's got maps. It's got some pictures and stuff. And so what people like to do with this is print this off and hang it on their refrigerator, I think was the original intent. So I print these off and I laminate them. I hole punch it, and then I put these little book rings, I can't remember what those are called, and that way I can hang it on little hooks in our schoolroom. So it's on display in our schoolroom so the kids can see it and reference it, but also it's portable. They can take it off the rings and they can carry it around and they can flip between the weeks. So it's like the best of both worlds as far as having it displayed, but also having it where the kids can take it down and look at it. It doesn't take up a ton of space. Some people I've heard put them in the bathroom hung up so that when their kids are in the bathroom, they have no choice but to stare at their memory work. You can put on the refrigerator, whatever. So I'll link to some options for the fridge facts if you want to do that. This is my favorite. The third option is, they are called like trifold board. I think it's the name of like if you're looking for it in CC Connected. But what it is each piece of memory work, so the history for the week, the Latin for the week, is on an 8.5 by 11 page. So these are much bigger because every single piece of memory work has its own 8.5 by 11 page. So at our old house, I had this on display, and I had this whole setup on our wall. And so each week I'd hang up the memory work for each week. I'd hang up the memory work, and then when we switch weeks, I would switch it. And I'm gonna insert a video here so that you can see how that worked. And then we've got my memory work wall here. So at the top, I put the week's timeline cards, the clips, the command hook clips are linked in the description, and the little hooks that I use for down here are linked in the description. These files are all from the same person on CC Connected. I'll put that in the description, but I just print those off and put them in page protectors. So they are in the shiny page protectors. I put 1 week and then another week on the back. So I have week 1, flip it around, week 2, and then after week 2, I take it down and put up weeks 3, 4, 5, 6. Them in a notebook like this. So I have Bible, I have geography, history, science, and so each week I just pull out the next weeks if I need to, and then put one back, and they're already all ready to go. And then I have each cycles stored in a binder so that they're ready for when we go through the cycle again. At our current house, we don't have as much wall space. It's more of an open floor plan, and so I have not put that back up since we moved. However, I do really miss having that on display, and so I'm thinking about putting it back up this year and just maybe not putting it in the same order, or I don't know how I'm gonna do it to make it fit where I wanna fit, but I really do enjoy having that up on display. It's really nice to have that up. It's large, if you have little kids, the letters are big, there's pictures, so it's really nice to have. It just depends on if you have the space. That is only offered on CC Connected, so if you're not a member of CC, like an actual paid member to CC Connected, sorry about that. However, there is somebody on Etsy who sells kind of a smaller version. Hers are 5 by 7, so but each one has one piece of memory work on it. So if you are limited on space like me and you want to still display all your memory work, but you can't do 8.5 by 11 sheets for everything, this is a smaller version. Or if you don't have access to the one on CC Connected, or if you just want a different aesthetic, because hers are beautifully done, but you just would have to pay for them because they're on Etsy. But I will link to those and you can check those out on your own. So that's a way that you can have the memory work on display at your house. Because this is nice to have in our schoolroom, but you can't see it from a distance, right? The writing is really small, so we reference it often, but if you want to be able to just look at a glance and see all the memory work, you need something bigger. So that's where I would go with the trifold board situation or the thing from Etsy. All right, let's talk about worksheets now. Okay, so there are lots of worksheet options. So I will say this year for cycle 1, I don't feel like there's been as many options as in the past. I didn't feel like I had quite as many to choose from, but there's still a lot out there, and so I'm gonna share. So my first several years, what I did was I printed off worksheets for my kids, and I stored them in a box like this. Well, not like this, it was this actual box. And so I have these hanging folders, and each one is a week. So week 1, week 2, week 3. And so I would print off their worksheets during the summer. I go ahead and try to print everything in the summer so I'm not having to do it later. and I would file them behind each week. And so then when each week rolled around, I'd pull out the week 1 worksheets and put them in a binder, and then the week 2 worksheets. And that was fine. And then when they finished a week, I'd stick them back in there. And at the end of the year, all of the completed work was in the correct week, and I would just take it out and make a big stack of it to store it. But a couple of years ago, maybe last year was the first year I did this, I switched from the file folder thing to doing like a spiral notebook thing, just to have less papers that I'm having to hold on to, less work on me every week to remember to take the pages out and switch out notebooks and all that stuff. So I just print off all the worksheets in the summer that I think we're going to use, and then I spiral bind it. I have a spiral binder machine here at the house, and so I just do it myself and bind it up. And so this is my daughter's for the first 12 weeks. And so that is, and then because if I did the whole year, it would be pretty thick. So I did the first 12 weeks, and then I have a second one for the second 12 weeks. And so at the Christmas break, I'll swap them. But anyway, as far as worksheets, some years we do a lot of worksheets and some years we don't. And this year is the year that, as of right now, I'm not planning on doing a lot. My older 2 boys just really don't love worksheets, and I've kind of transitioned more of a hands-on thing, and not so many worksheets. When they were littler, they loved worksheets and asked for them all the time, so I printed out a lot more. My daughter, she's 5, she loves to color. She's not really writing yet, so she's not needing to do these worksheets that are writing, but she does love to color, so coloring pages and things for her. So some of the worksheets that we do like, or that I just want to share for other ones, these are some map worksheets on CC Connected. I really like these. My kids really like these. You can find these in the Sandbox, which is on CC Connected. They, being like CC Corporate, have curated a group of worksheets that they feel like kind of like the best of the best, a good variety from the ones that moms have made. And they've put that all in one file, which is called the Sandbox. And if you want like easy button, you don't want to have to go find this from here and this from here and this from here, you can just download the Sandbox and print that off, or print off the worksheets from it that you're interested in, and not even have to sort through the forum. So I didn't explain this well at the beginning. CC Connected has stuff that CC itself has created, so like the memory work that they have put to song, and some of it's just spoken, videos that they've put out, that kind of stuff. But then there's also a forum that is for the parents, and that is for parents to ask questions, but mostly it's used for like file sharing. So if other CC families create resources, they can put them in this file sharing area, and that's where a lot of this stuff comes from. So there's lots of resources on there, but you have to comb through them. You have to search the right search terms. It can be kind of tedious. That's why I do this for you, is because I'm good at that, finding all the resources and then sharing them with you guys so you don't have to. And I link directly to them, so if you see something you like, you can just go grab that. But all that to say, if you are like, I have no desire to comb through all that stuff, CC has taken these resources that these parents have made and picked out the ones that they really like the most and put them in this document called the Sandbox. So there's one for every week, and it just has a variety of things that you can decide which ones you want to do. Okay, said all that to say, this map is in the Sandbox, but there's also one file that has just the map. So if you don't want to have to open every single Sandbox for all 24 weeks and go through and find the map and print that, I'm going to link to just the map so you can just get those. Okay, then there is a CC mom who sells the most beautiful coloring pages on Etsy. Here's one for the 10 Commandments. And she has, you can get a file that has coloring pages for all the memory work, or you can get one that's just history or just science. And so I get the one that has stuff for all the memory work. So like there's the geography one for week 1, and she's got a math one. They're just beautiful. And so especially my daughter, who loves to color, I print off the whole entire workbook thing for her. Now my older boys, they don't love coloring quite so much, so I just print off like 1 or 2 a week that they'll enjoy. But those are beautiful. The mom that does that, her name's Amy Snyder, and I'll link to her stuff, and she actually has a coupon code that she's given me for my viewers, so I'll link that too so that you can print those off. But they're just really, really pretty coloring sheets, and a really fun way for your kids to get to color and also work on the memory work. If you have a child that this is appropriate for, this is cursive tracing. So this file has all the memory work for every week. I think it has all 24 weeks already loaded, but it's, when you print it off, it's going to have, it's like, I don't know what you call copy work, where you're not copying, but you're just tracing. Trace work? I don't know. But they're really pretty. There's pictures. They're really well done. If you have a child where tracing cursive is going to be a good choice for them. There are some others where it's like tracing print, and not from this particular mom, but some other ones there. Some are copy work where it's just, you have to rewrite it. So it depends on what age your child is. Some other worksheets that I'll show you here. These are all from the same woman. Her name is Sandra Homemaker. Some of these are in the sandbox and some are not. She has worksheets for all of the memory work strands, so history, science, English, Latin, etc., and for different ages. So she'll have like a math one. I can't remember if she did. I think she has at least 2, if not 3 versions. So depending on how old your child is. So for example, here is a math one that's for the younger kids, where it's a cut and paste type thing. And then here's a history one that is for an older child, where there are blanks, and it's not like you're not tracing. They would actually have to write the word, and they can draw a picture there. Here is a science one about cells for an older child, where they would label each of them. So that's really nice that she has a variety. I have used these in the past, and these are some really good ones. And I'll pick and choose some of these and use them, but I don't usually print the whole entire year from these, because like I said, we're just not using a lot of worksheets right now. But if you do want to do worksheets, you have a child who loves worksheets, any of the Sandra Homemaker ones are good. And I have them linked in the blog post. You can check those out. I also printed out presentation planner. So we do presentations every week. It's like public speaking, show and tell type thing. And I've done something a little bit different every single year. So when my kids are little bitty, they're not reading, not writing really, I don't do any sort of planner for presentation. It's literally just like, pick your favorite toy and we go to CC and you talk about it, and you're just trying to get them up in front of everybody. But as my kids get older, I have more higher expectations for them. So this file here actually has 2 options. One of them has 4 squares, and so your child can draw a picture to like whatever they're going to talk about. Let's say they're talking about a book, and they could draw like the main character, just things to jog their memory, my favorite part. So when they get up there, since they're not reading yet, they have a picture. So I've done that with my kids before they're writing. This option, you would just, of course, write out your main topics, ideas 1, 2, 3, and 4. Then I have, so my 8-year-old will have this one. And then my 10-year-old, who is in Essentials as well, someone also shared one that is a presentation planner, but it is in the keyword outline, KWO format. So for him, I printed this one out to get him practicing putting his presentation for foundations in his Essentials KWO format. I don't know if he's gonna like that, but I printed some out for him to try. So these are presentation planners that if you have older kids, you might want to use. If you have little ones, I would skip that. Okay, so like I mentioned, there was not as much on CC Connected this year as I was hoping to find, not as much as I've seen in past years. So I also found some on Etsy. So I already mentioned those beautiful coloring sheets. Those are on Etsy. But there's also found some history worksheets that are fill in the blank with the CC history sentence, but then they also go a little bit deeper into information about the history sentence. So if you're wanting to your child to dig a little bit deeper in the history, but not have like a full history curriculum, those are a good idea for you. There's some geography coloring ones on Etsy. There are some really cool science worksheets. I'm really excited about those. They have like every week has a worksheet that's either like a code or a puzzle, word search, crossword, that type of thing. But then they also have some crafts, some memory work posters you can print out, some like songs and hand motions. So it's a really comprehensive resource for science. So if you want your child to practice the science memory work and then even like do a little bit of hands-on stuff with it, those are a great option. That same person that made those science worksheets also has a set for math that have like every week has a math worksheet, and also for English. So if you're looking for something a little bit different, those would all, I feel like, be really good options. Then this is something that I cannot believe I've not seen this yet on CC Connected. I've always, every year, there's been people who make weekly review sheets. So it's almost like very similar. It's like a 1-page like this here. Similar to the fridge facts. However, there'd be like blanks everywhere, and you could use it at the end of the week for your child. Like some people use it actually like as a quiz, not in community, but like at home. Okay. To quiz their kid and have them write down how much they remember. Some people just use it as like, the kid copies to practice, but they're just these really nice 1-page worksheets. And I have not seen any on CC Connected yet for cycle 1. If I see them, I will update the blog post and link to them so that those of you who have CC Connected access can go print those off. But there are several options on Etsy that are the same idea. They're 1-page weekly reviews. So I'm going to link to all those so that if there's not anything posted on CC Connected, or if you just like this better, you have some options. But I have always printed those off for my kids, and then they can, at the end of the week, just try to fill in everything, either from memory or from copying, whichever memory work resource they want. This one, or what's on the wall, or whatever. Okay. There are also some on Teachers Pay Teachers. There's a mom who has made a bunch of memory work worksheets, and like several years ago, these were the only memory work worksheets outside of CC Connected that I was aware of. People have slowly been adding new things. But you can download from Teachers Pay Teachers, the files individually, or if you are just like, I need the easy button there is, she also sells them already bound through Amazon, and I have all that linked. So you can buy all 24 weeks at once. You're going to buy weeks 1 through 12 or weeks 13 through 24. So you can kind of decide how you want to do that. But it's like a whole workbook that's already basically done for you. Now, those worksheets are definitely only for the older kids. They require a lot of writing. They don't have a lot of hands-on stuff. So you're not going to want to do that with your little ones. But if you're wanting like a just really easy workbook for your older kids, those might be good options. You can check those out and see what you think about that. Okay, another resource. I don't know if this is worksheets or not. Some of them it's kind of blurred, like those really cool science ones I was telling you about from Etsy that have worksheets, so they also have hands-on stuff. Anyway, this is We Draw to Learn. This is a really fun resource where she teaches you how to draw. So this is how to draw an animal cell, and she shows you how to draw it. And then there's a blank one that if you just want to use it as a coloring page, you can. And then there's also a colored one so your kids can see an example. So depending on the age. So I've had years where my older kids, I had them actually draw whatever, like in this week it'd be the cell, draw the item. And then my youngest, I would just print off the coloring page to color those. So these are really great if you have an artistic child, to have them, draw the science memory work each week. Or if you have one who doesn't really like art, but you're wanting to encourage that more, then you can have them draw that. So anyway, I'll link to that. She did give me a coupon code to share with you guys, so I'll have that for you so you can get a discount. But these are really fun. She has them for all the cycles. We've used them for all the cycles, and I just think it's a good way for the kids to reinforce their memory work and also practice their drawing. So that's really fun. Okay, so that's basically it for the worksheets for my kids. All of this is linked, including some that I didn't talk about specifically because there's just a lot. But it's all linked in my blog post. And so you can click through and you can look at the different ones and decide which one is age appropriate for your child. Do you want the ones that are on CC Connected? Do you want to buy ones from Etsy? Whatever. But there's a lot of options, but I wanted to show you a few. Okay, another thing I want to tell you about is my own personal worksheets, my binder. Okay, so I have always kept like a binder of some kind for myself. Now this year, this is the first year that I will be tutoring. And so how that will be, my binder will be a little bit different this year, but I'll kind of share still what I did in the past. So in my binder, what I've always kept is, first of all, this memory work review schedule. So this is a download from a former CC mom. They don't do CC anymore, but when she did, she created a ton of resources. And it is like, I call it a looping memory review. So it will tell you, like, let's say week 11, it will tell you on day 1, you review week 11, the current week you're on, but also week 10 and week 8. On day 2, you're going to review week 11, your current week, and then also week 9 and week 7. And so she has done the math and all the mapping it out for you so that you're keeping reviewing on past weeks. And this is excellent if you have a kid that's going for Memory Master, or even if you just want to keep reviewing the past subjects with your kids. So I'm going to link to this. It's within a download that is like a reading matchup for CC, which is also a nice resource. But when you click on it, you're going to be like, no, I want this memory work thing. It is in that file. You have to buy the whole file that has the reading correlations, but then it also has this review schedule, and this is really nice. So I have always in the past kept it in my notebook. This year I think I'm actually just going to post it on the wall so that we can see it. There's no need for me to carry it around with me like to CC or anything. This is something we only use at home, so I think I'm just going to stick it up on the wall somewhere for us to reference. But in the past, that has been in my my planner thing. The other thing that I always have in there is some sort of place so I can jot down information about how we're learning the memory work, or just make notes to myself. So this is my tutor planner for this year, but it's basically the same as what I've had in the past. So I have had in the past a page that's similar to this that will have each of the week's memory work, and then a blank spot where I can jot down what song we're using, or the, like to the tune of blah, 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 or these are the hand motions. So that is what I prefer over my guide. Now, some people just use their foundations guide and they write those things directly in the guide so that it's all together. But I have like commitment issues about writing in something, because what if next time around I find a different song I like more, and then I've already written it in my guide. So I'm weird like that, and so I keep that separate. But you can do whatever. However, these are called like tutor planners is what they're called on CC Connected, but I've used them as a parent every year up till this year when I am actually a tutor, because I just use it to write down stuff to use at home. Tutors use it to plan their classes out. Now, last year what I did is I found this one that has 6 weeks at a time, all in one document. So I actually printed that one off last year and kept that, and then that way it's still really enough room if you write small to jot down the stuff, and it just takes up less space. It's, instead of having 6 pages for 6 weeks, it's 1 page for all 6 weeks. So this one right here, right now only weeks 1 through 6 are on CC Connected, but the mom who made this is planning to upload the rest of the year. So I will link to this. So if you want like a 1-page snapshot of 6 weeks at a time, you can do that. Or if you want just 1 week at a time, it's going to look kind of like that. I'll link to, I don't think I have this specific file linked, but it's a very similar one. Okay, so I keep those things with me. That's for my own references. I also will print off some book lists. There are not nearly as many this year as there have been in past years, but there's a couple. And so if they are printable, I print them off and I put them in my binder. And that way each week when I sit down and I go to the library's website to request books, I can just look at my binder and like check off the ones that I request. However, there are a couple that are either on people's blogs or they are in like an Excel spreadsheet that would be really awkward to print. And so I just keep those on my laptop, pull them up each week, go through the list and do that too. So I kind of have book lists both places. It's not the most organized, best solution, but it is what it is. Now you might be asking, is that my planner? And the answer is no. I use an Erin Condren homeschool planner. Before they came out with that, I used an Erin Condren teacher planner. But I use that to plan like everything, like the school schedule and our math and our additional stuff that's not CC related. That goes into my Erin Condren planner, and I have videos about that. If you're interested, you can see that. But I don't carry this to CC or anything. But as far as like just my CC planner, I just have always had my memory work, looping guide, and the tutor pages that I could jot stuff down on, and then my book list. Okay, one more worksheet type thing before we move on to non-worksheet things. That is the math map. Now, if you're brand new, you may not want to like just ignore this part maybe. But CC has created their own math curriculum that they are rolling out. So this year, the Challenge A, which is 7th grade, they are using a level called complex. That is their level. However, CC, and no one else is using it this year formally, but CC has released 3 other levels. Digits is for kindergarten, naturals will be 1st grade, and fractions will be 4th grade, that are free on CC Connected. They are beta versions, so it's not a full curriculum, like as far as not all the pieces that will eventually be there are there. I'm sure there's errors and stuff because it's beta, but If you want to print those off and use that, you can. Some people are doing it as like a full curriculum for their kids, like that is their math curriculum for this year. I'm not. I just am using it as a supplement for my kids. I just want us to get used to it, get familiar with it before my oldest is in challenge A in a couple of years. So I did print those off. That's in a separate place from the file sharing. It's not where the rest of the worksheets are. I have a really short 4-minute video that shows where to find it, a little tutorial that I will link to if you're interested in just kind of investigating and seeing more about math, but I'm not going to say a whole lot more about it because it's really not actually related to foundations right now. Like, you're not going to see this in community if you're in foundations. This is just like a separate CC thing that they're doing, but I did want to mention it because I know a lot of people are kind of curious or wanting to print it off so they can check it out for themselves. So I did print the math for all 3 of my kids. We're going to just dip our toes in this year. We're still doing our separate full math curriculum, but that's just for us to kind of mess around with a little bit. Okay, let's move away from worksheets and talk about more like hands-on things and kind of some supplemental things that aren't maybe directly memory work, but go along with it. So last year was really the first year that I did this and did less worksheets and tried to do more hands-on type things. And so I'm gonna share with you what I'm planning to use or other things that I've found for this upcoming year. All right, so we'll just start with geography. These flashcards are on CC Connected and they are really great. I'm typically not a flashcard person, but a couple of years ago, I guess it was cycle 2 years ago, I started using these with the kids and it really helped them to be able to identify each piece individually. So it is a lot of work to print these off and laminate them and cut them out, and I even hole punched them so they wouldn't poke us. So they are tedious, a lot of work, but they are really nice. And so I would just quiz the kids and have them tell me which thing that was, and they were able to much more easily identify each individual item instead of just learning a list of maybe like 5 C's, which is still good to learn. And if that's all they learn, that's great. But they're getting to the age where I want them to not only be able to say the list, but also be able to find each of those. So those are really nice. Another resource for geography that's really nice is this curriculum, I guess you can call it, that's called Where in the World? Ancient Empires Study. It's written by CC Mom, and it is like a really in-depth geography curriculum that goes along with CC's geography. So it goes right along with CC's geography for this year. And she's got worksheets, activities, tidbits of information. It's just a really thorough, really cool resource. So I feel like that's for older kids. But if you have older ones and you're wanting to really dig into the geography more than just learning the memory work, that I would check that out. That's going to be a really good resource, especially because like the way CC does geography, especially for cycle 1, since it's all ancient geography, you're probably not going to find that in other curriculum really. So I love that this one is written specifically by CC Mom for CC families. So if you're looking for a supplemental geography curriculum, that one is awesome looking. Okay, for history, last year there was a mom that made these really cute little cards for each week's history sentence. So it's like the history sentence broken down. If you line them all up, then it's the whole sentence, and it has little pictures. So what I did is I put magnets on the back of them, and so each week I would scramble them up and then I'd have my kids put them in order. It's especially great for my, at the time, 4-year-old who was a non-reader, because she could put them in order based on the picture. So especially, I mean, this is great for all ages, but if you have younger ones, this is a really good visual option. And so she has, you know, little cards for each week, and so you print them off and cut them out, and they're on CC Connected, but also she has them in a Google Drive. So if you're not on CC Connected, you can access these, at least as of right now. So I'll link to that. So we really loved those. There is somebody who has a file on Etsy that are hands-on crafts to go with each week of the history. So for week 1, she's got a fun little craft that goes along with week 1. And for week 2's history, a fun little craft that goes along with week 2. So if you have crafty kids, or you're crafty, or you want to be crafty, that's a really good resource that she kind of uses household items and tells you what to do. And so you don't have to think up that stuff yourself. It already lines up with all of the weeks. That's a great resource. Then there is a CC Mom who recently wrote a ancient history unit study to go along with this cycle. So it goes along with the history, but also pulls in stuff from geography and other pieces of the memory work, maybe even a little bit of science. It's got worksheets and different things for you to do. I think she has like a book list of books that go along with it. So if you're looking for like a history unit study that just lines up perfectly with CC's history for this cycle, check that out. That's going to be right up your alley. And then also a fan favorite is Story of the World. This is Story of the World is a separate curriculum. It's not put out by CC, but it lines up really well with CC. So for volume 1, Ancient Times, that's going to line up well with cycle 1. We use this as a read aloud in our house. So I just read it to the kids, a chapter at a time as a read aloud. There are like worksheets that go along with it. If you want to do a more thorough curriculum study type thing, you can also get these digitally. You can get the CDs or maybe purchase the MP3s yourself. So if you don't want to read them aloud, but you want your kids to listen to them, like if they have a Yoto player, like we mentioned earlier, you can do that too. Or you can listen to them in the car on CD as you're driving. So a lot of people will do this as their history like supplement for CC. We are going to use that because we already have that book and have not read through that one yet. But definitely, if you like crafts, check out the crafty one that I mentioned. If you're wanting like an in-depth history unit study, check that one out. Okay, moving on to science. I've mentioned this one before in the past. These science videos from Awesome Science Media, so good. So Awesome Science Media is not a CC thing. It's its own Christian-based science video platform. But within, they have lots of videos about lots of things. But within all their video options, they have videos that are CC specific. They line up with the CC memory work. So I don't know if it's one of the men who started this company or whatever is a CC dad. And so they created this one that is specifically for CC. So episode 1 of season 1 goes with week 1 of cycle 1. And episode 13 of season 2 goes with week 13 of cycle 2. And so my kids love these videos. They love them so much. They beg every week to watch them. And I love them because I'm not super sciencey myself. And so having someone that's like demonstrating and going more in depth and always pointing it back to God, they've been such good videos. Now I will say right now, they do not have all the videos for cycle 1 up. And I emailed them to ask, is that coming or not? Because they have 24 videos for cycle 2 and 24 for cycle 3, but cycle 1 is like, they'll have like weeks 1 and 2 and then week 14, like it's kind of random. So I'm assuming they're going to come out with them, but I don't know that for sure. So I'll update the blog post as I know. But definitely check it out. It's a really great resource if they have all the science videos. If they don't end up doing cycle 1, then it's not really gonna be worth your money. But if they do, and you can buy a year at a time subscription, or you can pay monthly. And so you can pay for a month and check it out. But my kids just really love those videos. And it's been a great way for them to learn a little bit more about the science sentence without me having to dig and find something that lines up with it. Okay, the same person who did the history craft and activity bundle on Etsy, she also has a science one. So if you want crafts that go along with every single week's science sentence, check that out. That'd be great if you're a crafty family or want to be. Let's see. There are some Velcro activities that I'll link to. We used these last year. I'm not planning to use them this year, but print them off and you laminate them, make little Velcro dots, and it has all the science memory work, and so your kids can match them up. We really liked them last year. We're just doing different stuff this year, but you could check those out. All right, for English, last year there were no hands-on things for English or Latin, so I created some myself, and they were really popular. And so this year, same thing. I did the exact same thing. So for English, this year we spent a lot of the year learning prepositions. So I made this page. It's just a download. This is all in my Etsy shop. I'll link to everything, but it's blank and your kids can fill in the prepositions with a whiteboard, and they can laminate this, and same with helping verbs and linking verbs, etc. on the back. I also make a big whiteboard version and I put magnets on them, and so your kids can, here's would, must, could. You can scramble them up. They can put them in order. You can play games with them, different things like that. And so that's what we'll be using at home on our whiteboard to practice our English. Kind of the same thing with Latin. We're doing the Latin noun endings. And so I made this page here where you can change it out for each week. So here's first declension noun endings, and you would have all these pulled off, give them to your child, and they would put them in the correct one. This is for 1 week at a time. That same download also has it for all the weeks. So you can use this as a review. You can just give them one at a time. They can build on it, but it's the same idea where they're gonna fill in the different weeks. And then I also made a giant version of this that goes on your whiteboard. So depending on what size that you want, you know, if you just want like a little hands-on one that they can do and it doesn't take a lot of space, this is a good one. If you want them to be able to, you know, be hands-on with everything and have the cards that are, oops, dropped some, this size, fourth declension down endings, you can print off this really big one, or this would be a good way to review if you're a tutor at community day, that kind of thing. So these are all in my Etsy shop. You can buy the whole Latin bundle together, or you can buy just the small ones or just the big ones. And so I don't know, I think that my kids really enjoy this and it helps them to kind of be more hands-on with stuff. If you don't want to pay for one, there is a file kind of similar to this in the sandbox on CC Connected. You could print it out and you could make your own the same way I did this. It's not colorful, but you know, if money's tight and you want to make this, I have linked to that as an option too. Okay, for math, I also made a set of whiteboard activities for math. So if you, you know, want to do the skip counting or multiplication or the laws and have like a really big version for your kids to do hands-on with, I did create that in my Etsy shop. You can check that out. We also got this 15 by 15 Pop-It a couple of years ago, so it's perfect for our skip counting. And so the kids will, you know, pop them as we skip count, and it's just another fun, like hands-on thing that goes along with it. Okay, the last subject is timeline cards, and the timeline cards themselves are very hands-on. They're already, you know, in something that you could lay out and scramble up or have your kids put them in order or display them or whatever. But if you want little itty bitty ones, there are miniature timeline cards on CC Connected that are cute, and for years I've wanted to make them. This year I finally printed them and laminated them, but I have not cut them yet. So we'll see, we'll take bets. We'll have those cut before next year's video. But eventually I want to have all these cute little timeline cards, and then you can like put them on a ring like this for your kids to flip through, or hang them on your wall, and like they won't take up quite as much space. It'll still take up a lot of space, or play, you know, like use them as playing cards or whatever. So those are cute, but like it's a lot of work to cut and print all that stuff out. So like I said, I've been thinking about it for years and still haven't completely finished that project. Okay. So I mentioned the Yoto card at the beginning, or the Yoto player and the Yoto cards at the beginning, but I'm going to talk about that again a little bit more. So we got this last year for my daughter for her birthday. It is an audiobook player that plays MP3s, and you can buy books from the Yoto company, or you can get books from other places and make your own cards. But we use it to make the CC memory work. Do not feel like you need to go out and buy a Yoto player just to be able to do CC. Absolutely, you do not. But if you already own a Yoto player, I wanted to make sure you knew that you could put the CC memory work on the Yoto player, or maybe for Christmas or a birthday, you might consider putting this on a list for your kids. We have loved it. My kids love it, not just for CC, but for just listening to books. But we put all the CC memory work, this is just a few of them, but I put the weekly memory work every single week so they can listen to the whole playlist. And then I have like one card with all the history and one card with all the geography and Latin and so on. We have more that are not here with me. But anyway, I'm telling you this because I have noticed a huge difference in how much my 5-year-old knows of memory work compared to her brothers at that age. Not because she's been doing it longer or because I drill her harder on it, but because she listens to it on this. And so she just listens to it on her own. The other day, so with history, I've already put all 3 cycles on here. Another day, she was singing a cycle 1 song that she has never even heard before. She was a toddler last time we went through cycle 1. So, you know, it's not like she already had that memory. She has been using her Yoto player, and I've been so impressed by how much of the memory work she has soaked up. Because prior to having the Yoto player, if they were to listen to memory work, I had to direct to that. Because they don't own tablets. If your kids own like a tablet of some kind, you can maybe put the memory work on there so they can access it on their own. But my kids don't. And so the only time they could listen to it is really if I played it. It was very parent directed, because I either had to play it on my computer or my phone. But now that they have it on their Yoto players, which they have free access to because they don't connect to the internet or anything like that, they're very safe. And so they're listening to their memory work more because of that. And so I've been really thrilled with it and tell everybody about it. Again, don't feel like you have to rush out and buy a Yoto player just to do CC. But, you know, if that you already own one, if you've got a birthday coming up or Christmas, if, you know, whatever, you got extra money in the budget that you're wanting to do something with and you want to do something educational, highly recommend that. Okay, and like I said, I have a full, very thorough tutorial on how to put the memory work on the Yoto player. So if you already have that, like if you already have the player or are going to get one and you need that, that'll be linked. Okay, we're almost done. A couple of other digital resources. CC Happy Mom is my favorite for the geography song. She just does such an excellent job with that. She is on YouTube and I've linked to that so you can check that out. She also sells her songs in MP3s, and so I have purchased them to put them on the geography card for our Yoto player. If you're on Facebook, make sure you join the CC Facebook group because there's tons of great resources there. Okay, Pinterest boards. There is a mom who has created Pinterest boards for all 3 cycles. This is new to me this year. I don't know if she's done this in the past. It's the first time I've ever seen it. And she has, so if you click on the cycle 1 Pinterest board, there are activities and crafts and all kinds of things. And she has them even organized by week. It's just an awesome resource. So I'm going to link to that. And then on my blog, I have links to a couple of other blogs who have some cycle 1 resources that you can check out. That, I think, is everything. So also on my blog, I'm not going to talk about it in the video, but I have links to, like, I always get asked, what printer do I use? Because I print everything at home. Some people will send their stuff to Staples to be printed, or other places, but CC has like a discount at Staples. I don't do that. I print at home, and so people often ask me what printer I use. So I have that linked, and like the laminator that I like, and the spiral binder machine that I like, all that kind of stuff. It's all linked on the blog post. So if you're curious, that's where you'll find that. But I think that is everything. I know that's long. Every year this video gets longer because every year I find more and more resources I want to share. But I hope that was helpful. I hope that as you go through this year, you have a fantastic year. Yeah, like I said, I will update my blog. I cannot change this video once it's out, but as things change as far as like the app update, or if I find more worksheets that I talked about, I will update that on the blog post so you can check back there. But I think that's it. So I'm going to wrap it up because we've been here a long time, and I hope you guys have a great year, a wonderful year, and I'll talk to you later. Bye, guys.